When the boy in this story was surrounded by a pack of wolves, he realized that there was no help to be expected. There wasn't a single person nearby. Even all the local dogs had hidden in fear. The wolves were very hungry, which meant they would certainly not miss their chance. The boy only had a faint hope when one of the wolves suddenly stopped, as if in confusion. It all started when a village hunter brought home a wolf cub he had found in the forest. The man decided to keep the little predator. The wolf cub quickly befriended our hero's son. In appearance, this four-legged youngster looked very much like an ordinary mongrel puppy, but his gaze immediately revealed him as a future dangerous beast. He couldn't be fully tamed, couldn't be treated like an ordinary dog, but despite all this, the boy grew very fond of the gray predator. The child was even willing to study hard, just to spend as much time as possible with his unusual pet. Moreover, having his own wolf, albeit a small one, made the boy feel proud. He even thought that his friends had begun to respect him more. Time passed, and the wolf grew larger. As mentioned before, the gray predator only resembled a dog in appearance. One couldn't interact with him the same way as with an ordinary dog. It was also impossible to keep him on a chain, so the beast was placed in an enclosure. But a true predator will always strive to run back to the forest, and one night, the wolf did just that. He escaped. The boy, upon learning about this, was very upset. He grieved and cried for a long time, but the predator didn't return, and this wasn't surprising. Everyone knew that sooner or later the beast would want freedom. But even if the wolf could be returned, no one would have thought it right to forcibly keep him in the house. To console the child, his parents bought him a puppy, and it filled the void in the boy's heart. The adults really hoped that the dog would become a faithful friend to the child and heal his emotional wound. And so it happened. The boy soon calmed down completely. But he didn't forget the wolf, didn't stop considering him a friend. The child often wondered what the predator was doing now, if everything was all right with him. The hunter's son also pondered whether the wolf himself remembered that he had once been friends with a human. Are wild animals capable of remembering such things? Most likely, the boy thought. The wolf had now completely gone wild, become unaccustomed to people, and nothing remained of what he had been capable of before. Several years passed. Now our hero's son was already a teenager who loved to stay out late. Another winter turned out to be cold and hungry. In the village, there was constant talk that wolves were getting closer and closer to residential houses. And this was true. The predators were looking for food everywhere. And if they had started to come so close to the houses, it meant the situation was quite dire. One evening, the hunter's son was returning home alone. Suddenly, he saw burning eyes in the darkness. All the village dogs had scattered in fear, and hungry wolves began to approach the boy. A whole pack had come here from the forest to find easy prey. The child was terrified, thinking only about how to save himself. Who could come to his aid? But there was no help to be expected, and now the beast would start tearing him apart. By the time people realized what was happening, the wolves would have already turned him into their prey. And indeed, the predators were drawing closer. The leader was at the front, and now the wolves had come so close to the boy that he could even hear their hoarse breathing. But suddenly, for some reason, the leader stopped, as if something had taken him by surprise. The other wolves stopped behind him. The predator, standing motionless, began to sniff the boy, and suddenly, he wagged his tail slightly, then turned to the pack and growled something commandingly at them. After this, the leader headed towards the forest. The rest of the wolves followed him. The boy couldn't come to his senses for a long time. Anyone who knew nothing about this teenager's life would say that a miracle had occurred. That hungry wolves simply couldn't leave without harming the boy, because they are very dangerous. Perhaps to some extent, it was a miracle. But the boy himself knew perfectly well why everything had turned out this way. The leader of this pack was the same wolf cub with whom they had once become close friends. That's why the predator didn't touch him. Apparently, the beast still considered the boy his friend. The wolf not only didn't harm the teenager himself, but also ordered the other animals not to do so. Incredibly, the beast recognized the human even after several years. Now the hunter's son knew for sure that he had been mistaken when he thought that his predatory four-legged friend, having gone completely wild, had forgotten about their friendship. Perhaps the wolf would remember him for the rest of his life, and this means that the beast really considered him a friend all this time. This whole situation with the wolves, of course, greatly frightened the boy, but he was comforted by thoughts of how it all ended up. This story shows that neither distance nor time is an obstacle for true friendship. Even for a friendship between a child and a dangerous predator, it turns out that even wild beasts perfectly remember good treatment towards them. and they will never harm someone they once befriended.